Um, in this week's news cycle, there was a whole bunch of stories, so it was kind of hard for me to pick one, but because I feel like the year-end stuff is going to take up a decent chunk. But I thought this one was pretty interesting. And this is from Fightful Select because I go with people who are reputable, and a lot of wrestling dirt sheets aren't reputable. So thank you, Sean Ross Sapp, for your reporting. So I know, like, we all like to listen to podcasts, like from wrestling figures. I know I do. I like watching, Jim
Taker.
Ross. What?
It said Taker.
Taker, yeah, I mean Taker. Honestly, I'm trying to watch Vince Russo, but it's more for entertainment and not necessarily his seeds of knowledge.
And a
Uh,
billion bros in one.
yeah, and a
Bro,
billion
I'll tell
bucks.
you what, bro.
Bro, come
Yeah,
on,
so
bro. You gotta understand the business, bro.
I don't like wrestling. I do it for the entertainment and that kind of stuff. Like he's like, I don't care about the match bullshit. He's all
Jerry
about the
Springer,
Jerry
bro.
Springer. Yeah, basically. And of course, JR has his own show. And on the latest episode of Grilling JR, Jim Ross had some choice words for Vince McMahon. And of course, having worked for McMahon for the majority of his career, um, Jim Ross felt like there was still a little bit of unfinished business between the two. And on that latest episode, he said, I have never understood Vince's intense animosity towards JR. He said, I think he was jealous. His response came after the host, who hosts with JR, and I think he does a bunch of other like wrestlers too, Conrad Thompson. He asked him about Todd Grisham's comments, who had an interview with Chris Van Fleet. And I believe it was just basically talking about how Vince was like treating folks like JR. And he said he was never, Jim Ross said he was never the play by play guy that I was, but he didn't want to give me any credit for helping build the Attitude Era into what it was. I'm not the only person responsible for that, for God's sakes. I'm not trying to say that. And as much grief as he gave me, I could always look at my bank account and get happy. I never had the animosity towards Vince that he had towards me, and I never got it, Jim Ross added. And of course, throughout everything in the Attitude Era and the years after the Attitude Era, Jim Ross definitely worked his butt off, but he felt like the respect was never reciprocated. And he also mentioned that now that his health is better, he thinks he'll be around more often for AEW programming, which is good. So I mean, I always had the sense like Jim Ross was getting the butt of a lot of jokes at his expense. Jim Ross was getting a lot of jokes at his expense. And I remember, like, Chris, you remember when they were doing the draft, and then they drafted him to SmackDown, and clearly it looked like he wasn't informed that he was being drafted to SmackDown.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, apparently Vince did it like just for shits and giggles. And Vince also was, I remember him imitating JR too, with his like cerebral palsy. He'd be going like,
Wow.
"Arr." Do you remember that?
No.
Like WCW did it, but Vince also did it too. He also did it in a segment,
Yeah.
That's crazy.
which is crazy. So there was always this kind of weird animosity, or I don't know if it was Vince's humor or what.
I mean, this
Um,
guy has said some crazy shit on TV, so that's probably like the most tame thing he's done, to be honest.
I mean, that's true.
At
That's
least
true.
in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, true.
that's true. Do you feel so? I mean, like he talked about like because Vince did play by play. I don't know if it was before JR. I don't know if they did any simultaneously.
What a
Um,
maneuver.
But Vince did play by play. JR, of course, was the soundtrack of a lot of our wrestling like lives, commentating on a lot of historic matches and shows. Um, Chris, do you agree that there was a skill gap between his play-by-play and Vince McMahon's? Do you feel like maybe there was jealousy in terms of just pure skill, or what do you think is like Vince's like angle? Why do you think he was acting like that?
I mean, he's just disturbed individual. He has an interesting sense of humor, as we've heard so many stories, and I don't know about jealousy. I think he's the boss, and he wants to push certain envelopes, and he wants things his way, so he'll have some fun along the way, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. David, what do you think?
I think it's just more like it's just who he is. Like and then you hear about like bookers before him and like promoters before him and people in the back before him, or even like the ones that he was around that are slightly older than him.
Mhm.
And it's just who they were.
Yeah,
Unfortunately. Well, it's like it's
yeah,
just who they were back there.
yeah. Um, so JR mentions that Vince didn't want to give him credit for the success of the Attitude Era. How much do you guys feel? How much of the feel and legacy of that era do you feel like is owed to the commentary versus like the actual in-ring action? Like how much of an important role do you feel like JR's commentary played into the Attitude Era versus just the wrestling in the ring?
I mean, the main thing, like, if you just told me to sum up in like just instinctual, like, what's the first couple things that pop up when somebody says 90s wrestling, it would be Stone Cold, and then JR saying Stone Cold, and then,
Stone Cold.
yeah, just
Stone Cold.
going nuts. Like that's the essence of that era summed up, I think. And I think most people would agree, because everybody knows Stone Cold Steve Austin, and then, everybody's going, by God, Stone Cold, Stone Cold. So for sure, I think hearing it, because some stuff was like whatever. I think as far as like what was actually happening in the arena, but then you just you're watching it on TV and you hear JR just like losing his shit and being really invested and devastated with what's happening in the ring. So he for sure made, I think, 90s wrestling, more specifically the WWF. He
I agree. David, what do you think?
I think definitely as a commentator, and then also even more so like he was talent relations back then.
Oh, that's true.
mediator.
So like he's a super important part of the Attitude Era, and he probably does deserve more credit because like he's also responsible for bringing in a lot of the guys they did,
Yeah,
like Dudley's, Jericho,
Kurt Angle probably.
Kurt Angle.
Wasn't he in OVW? Was he the guy responsible?
I'm sure he
Angle?
had something in Cena.
Batista, and all them.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was still talent relations in 2002 or
Yeah.
2001 because I think they were in OVW in like 01, 2000, something like that. And then they debuted in 2002. So
And then
yeah, go ahead.
oh,
Finish your thought.
like one thing about like JR, and it's like especially now that we're like grown up, is that like when it comes to like JR's like broadcasting style, he still has like that really really old school style that could tell the story and like in the sense of like drawing you into the setting.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
it's like a very sports like, and it's like JR's sound bites are just as important as like just some of the things that happen, like the Stone Cold thing, but even just like even if like watch like the build up of the McFoley Undertaker Hell in a Cell and how he describes the structure, or like even like Cactus Jack and Triple H at No Way Out.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like if you close your eyes, or like if that was just playing through speakers and with no picture, like you can feel like you're there.
I agree with that. And I mean, like, I guess like uh, Jerry the King Lawler also added to it. I mean, he was the color commentator, so he always added in his dad jokes or his puppies commentary and stuff. So I guess like they work together, but I think both of their voices kind of define that era for what it was. So I really think that, you can't, it's in general, like even if you're looking at Olympics or sports or whatever it is, it's really hard for me to separate the Olympic event or the wrestling event without someone like commenting on it or like expressing an emotion that maybe I'm feeling, but they have the vocabulary to express what I'm feeling, or maybe like I can't find the word to express it and they're doing it for me, and it's just really painting the picture or the moment of the promotion. Like it just really adds to it. You can't really just have a match without commentary. There's certain moments that, of course, like if it's something, I don't know, something super serious or something that requires like, all right, we're done commentating and now we're just letting the wrestler like take in the crowd or the atmosphere or whatever that's required of that moment. Sure. But I think like 99.9% of wrestling or sports, other sports related like events get the investment and the emotion gets accelerated by having a commentator in that on television and explaining it to you, right? So I agree with that. So there was this other interesting thing that, of course, that I feel like everyone always just kind of like. I watched a little bit of that Todd Grisham stuff, and some of it I'm just like, that sounds like a crazy person, like Vince McMahon, for example. Like he was bringing up some examples of like when he was like working out with them or whatever.
Yeah.
Like there was like that specific clip where he was like yelling at his face. I'm like,
That's
if
awesome.
like everyone who talked like I think he said Adam Copeland and like, oh yeah, it looks like you, like as if like that was a normal interaction, like for a normal person.
Hey man,
I'm
working
like,
at a gym, I get it. Like re-rack your weights, and if I could,
no,
I would.
no, that's not the weird interaction. Him like
Oh,
going up to nose and like fucking yelling into his face.
well, that's what I'm saying. He
He's a
said,
turtle,
"I'm
bro.
your fucking boy," or whatever
Yeah,
he said.
I
Because he
don't
didn't
know.
re-rack his weights. He's like, "Don't worry, I did it for you, cause I'm your
Yeah,
boy." I mean
yeah.
that,
But the
yeah.
way
I mean
that
that's
Todd
pretty
Grisham
crazy.
described it, I'm like, I don't know about that. There's a couple forks missing
Yeah.
in that.
I mean, when I first watched it, I was like, "Who the hell is this?" And then it showed him like from like back then, like whatever, 15 years ago. I was like,
Oh,
"Oh
oh, Todd
shit,
Grisham.
yeah."
Todd Grisham had a glow up for sure. Cause like, I mean,
He's like a
he
nerd.
definitely looked like a pencil pusher in the 2000s.
Revenge of the Nerds, looking at.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but so I mean, that's a bizarre thing. So right. So like, so I guess going back to my initial like where I was going with this is like a lot of people like take Vince's like quirks and that kind of stuff and like taking like certain aspects where I'm like, that is kind of a toxic environment when you really think about it. But if you're in the bubble, if you're in the culture and everyone it just kind of like thinks that this is like the thing to do, you look at it as normal. So like I think JR did get like a lot of shit, and I'm sure Vince was yelling in his ear almost like not constantly, but pretty often when he was when Vince was in charge, first of all, and then when, of course, when he was on commentary. Um, and he felt like, like, well, at least I get my paycheck, right? He said, at least I can look at my bank account and get happy despite all the grief that he received. Do you feel like, and this is in general, like if you're working for a boss or whoever, like David, do you feel like a high salary is enough to compensate for like not being respected or a toxic relationship with a superior? Or do you feel like you can just be like, you know what, water under the bridge, I'm making six figures or, $1 million?
I haven't came across that salary where I can tolerate it yet.
He's like, I don't know.
So
I don't
you're
know
Yeah,
what
like,
that
no,
feels like.
but like even like in the better paying jobs that I've had, like I can't do it. Like I know there's people that can, and I'm sure like if I had a couple more things to be responsible for, like maybe,
right.
but like I mean, I feel like my plate is other than children is just as heavy as most, and I I'd still walk out that shit. Like,
Yeah, I don't know if it's worth it.
Like, I wouldn't know. And then
For
I
sure.
grew up on Stone Cold, so is it worth it? Like, if you
Right,
crash out,
exactly. Like,
if you crash out, is it equal? Like,
right, exactly. Like if we stun the boss, or flip him a couple birds and pour beer
let
over
them
his head.
know what it is at the very least. Like, and
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's worth
is
it.
it see it next Monday or is it fuck you? Like, which one is it?
Right, Chris. What about you? What do you think? Is it worth it?
I mean, I I have a high tolerance, but I don't know, man. I mean, I feel like it's next level. I feel like if I was on the receiving end of that, like, being yelled at by Vince, humiliated on TV or something like that, yeah, I think it might do
Yeah.
something for me, or to me, I should say. Um,
I feel like it's difficult. If I was put in like a position of WWE, I feel like I might let it slide because I'm like, oh man, like dream job.
bend
I'm working in
over.
WWE. Yeah, I'm like, I'll put up with it because this is kind of awesome. Because I'm like, I'm getting yelled at by Vince McMahon. That's pretty cool, you know. But like, if you're, I don't if I'm working at a job, like even if I'm making six figures, like I know people, like close friends who made that much money, and I saw how stressed out they are, and I don't know if it's worth it, honestly. And let alone like getting yelled at constantly when I'm trying to like do my job. Like I have headphones and I have a camera in my face. There's like 5 million people watching me try to tell a story, and I have some asshole in my left earbud trying to tell me that, like, oh, I forgot to mention this to promote, I don't know, fucking Bad Blood or Velocity or whatever, and you're
Slim
giving
Jim.
me shit. Yeah, or Slim Jim. I
Ooh,
forgot to bring
yeah.
up, oh, he snaps in that table, and you can also snap into a Slim Jim. Like I forgot to mention that, and he's like yelling about that while I'm trying to promote, Austin versus The Rock or whatever. I think I would have a threshold for sure, because I know, like, when I was at Best Buy and I had a supervisor, I did actually kind of snap at my supervisor when I was working in the warehouse.
I would never.
So, so yeah, I think I do have a threshold, but again, six
Yeah, me too.
figures. I don't know. I don't know. Uh,
I'd call
uh,
Tony Khan. I'd be like,
yeah,
Tony,
yeah,
yeah,
you're a nice guy.
Snowman,
You got more money.
make it snow,
send
baby.
send the contract. I got a story to tell. Bye.
Yeah, I'm gonna fax it over next day. And so, like, this is interesting. He
MJF
said that
promo.
he thinks that Vince McMahon is like jealous of, potentially, like that's why he got upset, is that he's jealous of his play-by-play, like, commentary skills versus like what Vince was. Do you think there's any truth to that, or do you think that JR is just kind of like, I don't know, assuming, because what
I'm
else could
sure
it
there's
be?
I'm sure there's a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure there is because it's like he. I wouldn't say like he didn't excel at the booth, and it's like it's hard to tell also because he ended up being a whole character.
Right.
But it's like how many people that like talk about new gen or anything like that like ever talk about like, oh yeah, I remember when Vince called this match or Vince's reaction to this happening.
Right. Right. I mean,
I
I
could be
think,
wrong.
yeah.
I just don't know them.
Yeah, I mean, we are literally shooting in the dark, and we're making educated guesses based on, you know,
Yeah. I,
accounts from JR, but we're not hearing from Vince. And we're also I'm building a character profile based off other stories from other wrestlers, uh, accounts from other journalists, and now I'm building up an assumption on Vince McMahon. But like we do know that Vince is very competitive, though. Like he is a competitive person. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that, you know, in the commentary competition, maybe he was a little jealous of JR just doing such a great job. I don't know. Maybe. I think that's possible. Chris, what do you
it's a
think?
possibility.
Yeah, I mean, but here's the other thing: is he put him in that role because he wanted to be, in a different position in the company, I guess. Not being, a commentary guy. Now he's playing the character of Mr. McMahon on TV. So it's not like, oh, I should, like, he wanted to be commentary and then JR kicked him out or something like that. It was all his choice, right?
Right. Yeah. So I'm not sure. And of course, sometimes I think he's telling the truth, but sometimes people want to live the gimmick, and maybe he's just working, and maybe he's not shooting. Maybe he's just trying to live the
We
gimmick.
don't do
but,
that here.
Yeah, but we're just gonna assume on Chi-Town Shoot that he's shooting on his own podcast. I don't think
At
he'd
all
be,
times.
uh, making sure that he keeps the story and the legend alive. But I think we can move on to our main.